So I've got to be honest, sort of looking at a lot of the leaks, and this isn't necessarily about the PlayStation leaks, but it's quite clear that Microsoft was on the right path all along. And, I think that makes a lot of sense, because when you look at things, and you look at things from like a perspective that at the end of the day, Microsoft, they are a $1 trillion company. They know how to kind of run a business. You look at Sony, and they are very much old school. They have these old pillar mentality where, we'll sell our console to people, and then every 6 years we have to start all over. Microsoft is like, that's great. We have this console, but when we have to start over in 6 years, we don't want to go all the way back down to zero. And the way you do that is you have a strong PC front, a strong mobile front, a strong cloud front, because it's not just one or the other anymore. And I think that's what we're sort of seeing at this particular time. Now, listen, does that mean that everything that Microsoft is going to do is right and everything that Sony does is wrong? No. Like, in a lot of ways, I like some of the things that are kind of happening that Sony does. Like, I like their single player games, but at the same time, I understand that is something that is not happening as much as it used to. So, we'll see what happens. Sony might go ahead and do their thing with the with the PS5 Pro or what have you, and people are wondering, will Microsoft answer? Are they going to come out with something sooner, et cetera, et cetera? Now, at the same time, I think that what Microsoft has to do is sort of do something that they did with the 360. Use the 360 landscape to your advantage, right? And what did the 360 do? You had something that was easy to develop for. You had, backwards compatibility. Well, although they did stop that relatively quickly, you have the backwards compatibility. You had something that came out before the next PlayStation. So now we have a little bit of more information. I talked about this the other day. The next generation Xbox console is still a few years away, but it seems like it's going to be released earlier than the PlayStation 6, as Microsoft wants to set the message for the next generation of consoles. In a video shared on YouTube, Red Gaming Tech, whether you believe this guy or not, revealed how the timeline for the next console by Microsoft shifted significantly since the documents leaked by the FTC earlier this year. According to sources, the console will be released during 2026 and will be powered by a Zen 5 CPU and not by a Zen 6 CPU as revealed in the documents, as the 6th iteration of the Zen architecture will not be ready by then. As for why Microsoft is planning to release the next generation Xbox earlier than PlayStation 6, it's apparently because the company wants to send the message that next generation of consoles, like it was successfully done with the 360 generation. The hardware will be less powerful than the competition, obviously, but this would not only make it cheaper than PlayStation 6, but it could also allow Microsoft to release a more powerful hardware revision down the line. Whether Microsoft will release 2 SKUs or not of their next console is yet to be known. So, again, Microsoft can constantly be changing these things and doing things that are, very much different than what we expect, right? And I think that could be, still something that's very successful for them. And what I mean by that is, if they're releasing, I don't know if I buy the 2026 thing. I think 27, especially if PlayStation has a 28 kind of thing. If PlayStation is going for 2027, then yeah, I would suggest 26, because you definitely want to beat them out the door. And it doesn't really matter, to be quite honest, if it's going to be slightly less powerful, because if we look at things, the PlayStation 5 is less powerful than the Xbox Series X and hasn't really hampered them this generation. But if you launch, say, in 2026 and you have, a Blade, if you have Elder Scrolls 6, if you have, these games ready to go, and you have, the first and only next-gen Call of Duty version on your platform, and all this stuff is day one Game Pass, I feel like you are in a very, very good place to be. And again, we're sort of past that part. I was listening to a couple different people talk about this and saw some articles and things. Microsoft, honestly, the reason why I think they're so content, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe this is wrong, I don't know, but since Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S all share the same everything, UI and everything like that, and for the most part a lot of the games and things, Microsoft still kind of counts on that, you know. And I think that even though they'll go into the next generation early, they're still going to count on the Series X and S to kind of, you know, be there, because these are just like, I think they almost sort of like a PC situation where they're still in the ecosystem even though they're lesser or whatever. And I still think that Microsoft is kind of looking to do sort of that way, because if you look at it, the Xbox 360 was indeed, I guess, in some ways less powerful than the PS3, but also in a lot of ways it was, you know, much easier to sort of develop for, and we also saw, you know, so many great games for it and things like that. So I think they definitely have, you know, a situation where they're in a very good spot. You know, Game Pass is looking to be very good. One of the things that we said for real is, you know, listen, one of the things that came out of this whole leak from Sony is the fact that they're looking to raise game prices again. And people might go, the funny thing to me was when I saw this, some PlayStation fans were trying to defend this, going, well, yeah, you know, whatever, I'll pay $100 for a good game or whatever. Listen, ain't nobody paying $100 for Ratchet and Clank, some 9-hour game, right? At the end of the day, there are $100 versions of games already. They're like deluxe versions, and they come with a bunch of extra stuff. $100 for a base game would be insane, especially since they just raised prices this generation. It's like, you can't really get away with that. Not only that, but that would literally chase people into subscription services quicker than ever, right? Like, imagine if you're a person that buys, you know, 4 or 5 games a year. Next thing, like that's the cost of the console itself, right? Or you could just get, you know, kind of subsidize that by getting Game Pass, like especially on the Xbox side, right? I don't know if they would follow suit. I would think not, because what a coup that would be, right? Like, hey, you're still offering games that are $30 cheaper than the competition. That's a big bonus point, in my opinion. That would be a huge screw up by Sony to actually do that, by the way. But yeah, so it is interesting to see that kind of thing happen. But could you imagine, like, Game Pass? You could get Game Pass for $160, $170, or whatever it is for the year. And if you're a person that buys 5-6 games, that's saving you hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So yeah, like, I think Microsoft is onto something here, and I think, you know, at the end of the day, PlayStation, they are in a rough situation. Yes, they're selling consoles, but at the end of the day, they're not keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak. So, you know, we'll see how this kind of works out, how it plays out, but to me, it does not look very good for Sony for the long term, right? I mean, you're turning one of your best studios into a Marvel factory only. You know, again, not a good look. Just to me anyway, it does not seem like it is a very good look, but you guys might think differently. I don't know. Let me know down below. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. If you enjoyed the content, I'm Crap Gamer. This has been Crap Gamer Reviews. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, share it, subscribe. Crap Gamer out.